Good morning, Ma'am Anne. Good morning, classmates. Today I will report about the Lesson 2, Implementing a Curriculum Daily in the Classroom. Desired Learning Outcomes. Review the components of a daily plan for teaching. Second, identify intended learning outcomes. Then third, match learning outcomes with appropriate teaching methods. DepEd Order Number 70, Section 2012. Teachers of all public elementary and secondary schools will not be required to prepare detailed lesson plans. They may adopt daily lesson logs which contain the needed information and guide from the Teacher Guide or TG and Teacher Manual TM. Reference materials with page number, interventions given to the students and remarks to indicate how many students have mastered the lesson or are needing remediation. However, according to DepEd Order Number 70, Section 2012, teachers should not be required to prepare detailed lesson plans, but should instead adopt daily lesson logs containing learners' materials and enrichment activities. However, teachers with less than 2 years of teaching experience shall be required to prepare daily lesson plans which shall include the following. First is objectives, second subject matter, third procedure, fourth assessment, and last the assignment. Starting the class right, laying down the curriculum plan. Before the class begins every day, a teacher must have written a lesson plan. The main parts of a lesson plan are objectives or intended learning outcomes or ILO. Objectives are the foundation of a lesson plan to meet course or lesson goals. Subject matter or SM. Knowledge is an understanding of how a discipline advances and what is known within it. Next, procedure or strategies of teaching. The lesson procedure is a step-by-step explanation of how the lesson will progress in the classroom. Next, assessment of learning outcomes or ALO. It is the lesson summary. Teachers should include assessment in their lesson plans to ensure students are making the right connection. Assignment or agreement. Teachers and tutors assign tasks to students as a part of teaching, as part of learning. Here is the Bloom's taxonomy as revisited by his own student Lauren Anderson and David Crowtwell. Bloom's taxonomy in 1956, evaluation, synthesis, analysis, application, comprehension, and knowledge. According to Bloom's taxonomy, evaluation is it is the judgment about the value of material and methods for given purposes. Synthesis, putting together of elements and parts so as to form a whole. Analysis, breakdown of a communication into its constituents, elements or parts such that the relative hierarchy of ideas is made clear or the relations between ideas expressed are made explicit. Application, use of abstractions, particular and concrete situations. Comprehension, refers to a type of understanding or apprehension such that the individuals know what is being communicated and can make use of the material or idea being communicated without necessarily relating it to other materials or seeing its fullest implications. The knowledge, it involves the recall of specifics and universal, the recall of methods and processes, or the recall of a pattern, structure, or a setting. Revised Blooms by Anderson 2001. Creating, evaluating, analyzing, applying, understanding, and remembering. Creating it, according to Anderson, creating is the generating, planning, producing. Evaluating, checking and critiquing, analyzing, differentiating, organizing, and attributing, applying, executing, and implementing, understanding, interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, inferring, comparing, and explaining, remembering, recognizing, and recalling. Here is the levels of knowledge. Number one, punctual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, and metacognitive knowledge. Punctual knowledge, it is the information that can and must be learned through exposure, repetition, and commitment to memory. Conceptual knowledge. It can be understood as knowing the interrelationships or functions among the details and elements that make up a larger structure. Procedural knowledge. This knowledge type is critical for success in goal attainment because it puts the what into action through the how process. Metacognitive knowledge. This probably the least paid attention to knowledge type because sometimes it feels uncomfortable to reflect on what is happening inside our world. Next is the intended learning outcomes or ILO should be written in a smart way, specific, measurable, attainable, result-oriented outcomes, and time-bound. First is the subject matter or content or SM. Refers to areas of creating forums for teaching and sharing knowledge, procedure or methods and strategies. As a method is a process, a procedure, or it is a way to something is done or implemented. A strategy is a goal, a set of actions, or a plan to achieve one aim. There are many ways of teaching for the different kind of learners. Here is the direct demonstration method. It is the direct teaching strategy as the teacher disseminates presentation and asks the learners questions to check the understanding and finally asks higher order questions to integrate the knowledge. Cooperative learning approaches involves working together in groups to achieve the common goal. It is the method by which students vary the abilities come together to work on a task. Deductive or inductive approaches. Deductive approach to instruction is a more teacher-centered approach. This means that the teacher gives the students a new concept, explain it, and then has the students practice using the concept. Inductive approaches is a student-led approach to teaching. In this approach, teachers provide learners with example and allow them to arrive at their own conclusion. The other approaches is the blended learning, reflective teaching, integrated learning, outcome-based approach. Blended learning is the use of traditional classroom teaching methods together with the use of online learning. Reflective teaching is a process whereby teachers reflect their teaching practices in order to examine the overall effectiveness of their instructive approaches. The integrated learning is about making significant connections between subjects or skills that are usually addressing several different subjects. And it also improves the learning experiences. Next is the
outcome-based approach.
Next is the integrated learning. It's about significant connections between subjects or skills that are usually addressing several different subjects, and it also improves the learning experiences. Outcome-based approach is completely student-centered, which focuses on what students know and can actually do. Students have different learning styles. There are many classifications of learning styles according to the different authors. We have the visual, auditory, and kinesthetics. A visually dominant learner absorbs and retains information better when it is presented it. For example, the pictures, diagram, and charts. Next is we have the auditory. An auditory dominant learner prefers listening to what is being presented. He or she responds best to voices, for example, in a lecture or group discussion. Hearing his or her own voice repeating something back to a tutor or trainer, it is also helpful. Kinesthetics. A kinesthetic dominant learner prefers a physical experience. He or she likes a hands-on approach and responds well to being able to touch or feel an object or learner props. We, we have the cone of learning. Teaching and learning must be supported by instructional materials or IMs, considering the teaching methodologies and the learning styles. The different support materials should be varied. This will ensure that the individual differences will be considered. We have the reading, hearing words, looking at pictures, watching a movie, logging an exhibit, watching a demonstration, seeing it done on location, and participating in a discussion, giving a talk, doing dramatic presentation, and simulating the real. The cone of learning, the least effective method at the top, involves learning from information presented through verbal symbols. Example, listening to spoken words. The most effective methods at the bottom involves direct, purposeful learning experiences, such as hands-on or field experience. Direct, purposeful experiences represents reality or the closest things to real or everyday life. The cone charts the average retention rate for various teaching methods and suggests that involving